Jacobs, talk about good run game, plunging in from 1 yard out, putting the Packers up 17-0, and they never looked back.
The physical presence that Josh Jacobs has brought to this football team gets felt week by week.
Of course, the Niners dealing with tons of injuries. They're down 10. Xavier McKinney continues his impressive 2024 season. McKinney tied for first in the league with 7 interceptions. Brandon Allen struggling as the backup. Let's go to the fourth quarter, and here's Allen again. He fumbles, so that leads to a Packers touchdown, but then shortly afterwards, you saw something that we very rarely see, which is Christian McCaffrey putting the ball on the turf as well as he fumbled. The Packers completely dominate en route to a 38-10 victory for the Niners. It puts them at 5-6, last place in the NFC West. Injuries again, you don't want to make excuses, but that's been a big reason why. The 49ers playoff chances have been steadily declining since the start of the season. After their Week 1 win on Monday Night Football, San Francisco had an 85% chance to make the playoffs, but sitting at 5-6, the Niners have the third toughest remaining schedule in the NFL, just a 17% chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN Analytics. Dan, as you look at this 49ers team, is the season over for them?
I mean, for them, yes, because this season wasn't about just getting into the dance or trying to win the division. Right. This is a team that's been the NFC title game 3 out of 4 years that lost essentially or exactly on the last play of the game last year in the Super Bowl. So it was, can they go win it again? And it looks, because of the injuries, because of really the crux is the poor offensive line play. That's really been the issue. Again, Brandon Ayuk not being there, the McCaffrey time missed, Hargrave on the defensive front, Bosa not being there yesterday, no doubt. The reality is this is a different offensive line in San Francisco. This offensive line cannot be one that wins the NFC nor goes and represents this team in the Super Bowl. Can they get into the playoffs still? Maybe, but that was never their goal.
You look at, they just are so discombobulated. Like, this is the first time we've talked about San Francisco where and obviously the injury, we have to mention that,
yeah,
right? The reality is this team was really heavy laden with a lot of talent, and they were able to overcome a lot of things. But now it seems they have no identity. It seems Kyle Shanahan is confused in a lot of things that he's doing. But I look at the defensive side, and when I see Fred Warner playing unsure, that lets me know that there's a lot of things going on from a preparation standpoint. This was one of those examples. A great job by Matt LaFleur putting Fred in no man's land. First, you send 2 out to the flat to make him respect that and cover down, and you run the dig right behind him. This is something we used to talk about San Francisco doing to people. But the threat and the way that he was able to create and take Fred Warner outside of the structure, you can't. Right?
I'm telling you right now, because that's a pass and a screen at the same time.
Exactly. And you look, but you also look at it and you say, the older San Francisco teams, do you ever even get to that? Do you have an opportunity to even get to where you got these guys on their heels? We saw a physical defense. Remember, Dan and MK and RC, we talked about this the first time we saw an unsure San Francisco team was when they played Philly.
Right.
Offensively.
Right.
Where we saw these linebackers get stuck in the mud. I saw it time and time again with Fred Warner, which
You're
also
talking 2 years ago, Philly.
2 years ago, Philly game, and I saw it this game. Even in the run game with Josh Jacobs, you could see linebackers not being decisive about coming downhill.
Matt LaFleur deserves a ton of credit. I mean, you guys have pointed that out multiple times.
Yeah, dude coaching his face off.
He is.
He got 2 wins with Malik?
Yeah, he did while Jordan Love was out. What stood out to you offensively, Mina, for the Packers?
Yeah, you set me up perfectly talking about the uncertainty at the linebacker position for San Francisco because Matt LaFleur gave them so much to look at in the run game. The way they get to that split flow rushing attack is bonkers, honestly. I mean, this run, oh my God, early in the game with Josh Jacobs. Dan and I talked about it where they're in a split back formation. That's Reed in the backfield. And when you slow down, you can see Reed, the fake to Reed, which is, by the way, that little spinning fake that they started doing with Malik Willis. It pulls not only the linebackers, but the blitzing DB there. And then Jacobs takes that little step, boom. And then Tucker does the motion. Tucker Kraft comes back across the motion for the block, and you get 18 yards wide open rushing lane. There's so much creativity on the ground right now with the Packers. And I feel like it's almost been lost in the shuffle a little bit because of what the Eagles and Lions are doing in the run game. But I would put this rushing attack up there with any in the NFL right now.
And in that same drive, a couple of plays after the one Mina just showed you, they put Josh Jacobs in motion, and they were in pony personnel with the other back in the backfield, and they ran a follow or an ISO that was also split flow. So they've done so much. To me, the Green Bay Packers are now the 49ers Midwest.
Amen.
Right? When we used to watch all the creativity of that offense, you think about that first drive, you have a play where we see Jaden Reed come out of the backfield when he catches a wheel route down the sideline. There's a Tucker Kraft screen for a touchdown later on in the game. And they also use Romeo Doubs in so many ways in between the numbers. And so when you started to watch this game, and there was one point where Kyle Shanahan was extremely frustrated, you see him screaming at the officials. I believe that's because he understood that they were out-coached, they were out-schemed, they were out-executed. Did the Packers have the better players in this game? Absolutely. The 49ers have lost too much, but I think the ascension of Matt LaFleur as a play caller and a play designer was on full display yesterday.
And that's why Detroit's the best team in football. Philadelphia is probably the most dangerous team in football, but you can't have a conversation in the NFC when it comes to like who's good enough if you don't put Green Bay in it. Because the way that they can play, because all those different pieces that they have, the diabolical run game, not to mention a defense that take the ball away. They're for real.
And they also, like last year in the playoffs, they showed everybody that if you leave these receivers one-on-one,
they'll kill you, man.
They'll destroy you from 3 or 4 of those guys.
I mentioned that the 49ers had this extremely difficult schedule the rest of the way. They take on the Bills in Buffalo for Week 13. Buffalo's one. Lisa Salters is always on the broadcast tonight and joining us here. And Lisa, this Ravens offense is really in a good spot. They've got all their stars ready to go tonight. The same, though, cannot be said for that Ravens defense. What's the latest on the guy in the heart of the Baltimore front seven?
Yeah, Laura, the biggest question mark for the Ravens heading into this game is the status of all-pro linebacker Roquan Smith, who suffered a hamstring injury last week in that loss to the Steelers. Smith got hurt in the third quarter of that game, tried to play through it, but left again early in the fourth quarter and did not return. Smith did not practice at all this week, but John Harbaugh keeps saying he's not ruling him out and that Roquan has been working hard to get healthy enough to play tonight. Now, not having Smith out there would force the Ravens D to fill a major gap. Not only is Smith the team's leading tackler, but he hasn't missed a game due to injury since the Ravens acquired him in October of 2022, but that could change tonight. Smith is currently listed as questionable, Laura, and John Harbaugh said he truly will be a game-time decision, that once Roquan gets here, gets to the stadium and has a chance to warm up, they'll make a determination about whether or not he can go then, based on how he can move around and how he feels.
All right, Lisa, we'll keep an eye on that. Great stuff from you. And, of course, I know Roquan wants to be out there in the worst way. For more on tonight's game, let's build out a same-game parlay presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. We got Dan in the mix today. Come on, Dan. Let's see what you – we let him do it.
Let's get money.
All right.
Let's get some money.
Hey, 2 straight games for Derrick Henry where he failed to reach 70 yards on the ground. Over under 79.5 yards rushing tonight.
We're going over. Todd Monken, their play caller, is going to realize, listen, we have to make sure that Derrick Henry's a focal point of our offense. Also, this Chargers defense is fantastic. They give up about 110 yards on the ground per game. I think Derrick Henry, with some of those light boxes and split safety defense, is able to take advantage of it some. He goes over.
All right, Isaiah Likely put up 75 yards receiving last week against the Steelers. Over under 24.5 yards for the Baltimore tonight, for the tight end tonight in this one.
All right, so we're going over again, football nerd stuff. Split safety defense, meaning 2 safeties, work the middle of the field. I want the tight end likely to have a bunch of options in that. 2, play act pass. 3, he's got 28 catches for like 3. He averages about 11 yards per catch. I'm going to bank on him getting 2 to 3 catches tonight. We're going over.
I feel like you're putting a lot of thought in this, and you're going to be upset if it doesn't happen the way that you want it to.
I feel great about it.
One more. Okay, you're 2 for 2. So let's see if you go 3 for 3. Give us a player you think will find their way to the end zone tonight.
J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins. So we just come off Lisa's report of Roquan. Is he playing? Is he not playing? We'll find out. If he doesn't play, you got to imagine that if you're the Chargers and you get down into that red zone area and you got to go score touchdowns, you become a very physical offensive football unit and run the football at a defensive front that's good, but without their starting middle linebacker. I say J.K. Dobbins.
The whole time Dan was doing that for Marcus and Mina over there, like just,
I feel great
talking trash to him.
Yeah.
All right, download the ESPN Bet